Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Baer Facts, and we actually have Jay Baer back in the saddle. How was the trip to Down Under?
Fantastic. I petted a koala. I cuddled a kangaroo. I molested a wallaby. And I saw with our friend Jeff Roars, co-host of the Social Pros podcast, my very first ever professional rugby game.
Nice. I'm sure you guys enjoyed that. I did see the picture of, was it the kangaroo or the, I can't tell the difference. Is that a kangaroo that you had a picture of on Facebook?
I had a wallaby, and a koala. And apparently it is not a koala bear. That is a misnomer. And if you make the mistake of calling it a koala bear, you will get a 17-minute lecture from an Australian zookeeper. That is not the case. Do not make that mistake, people.
We will not. That's one lesson learned today in the Baer Facts. Koala and koala bear. Okay, so going on to what we were really going to talk about. Recently, Google announced that it was getting rid of Google Reader, and we have a lot of people freaking out, of course. We have a lot of people trying to figure out how to manage 200, 300, 500 blog feeds that most of the time they don't read, right? And we have other people saying that this is the start of the death of blogging. So, Jay, what do you think about that?
Well, I certainly don't think it's the death of blogging. If anything's going to kill blogging, it's not going to be the absence of Google Reader. I think it's going to be, continued diminishment of attention span. I think, if anything, will really impact blogging as a content conveyance. It's our increasing reliance on photos and images. That the picture worth 1,000 words. That trend, and Tumblr and Instagram and things of that nature, even Vine, would be the things that might impact blogging. As to Google Reader in particular, look, I was an early devotee of Google Reader, as were many people who have been in the space for a while, used to use it religiously, don't use it anymore, haven't used it for a while, and you'll hear that same story from a lot of people in the social media and content marketing industries. And it wasn't as though Google Reader didn't serve my needs anymore, it's just that increasingly Twitter and to some degree LinkedIn became Google Reader, right? You set up Twitter lists and you curate lists appropriately, and you see the content that you want to see bubble up through those media. But I'll tell you what, Kyle, the thing about Google Reader is that, yes, there's some alternatives, and we actually wrote about those on our blog last week, and there's been a lot of talk about technology alternatives to Google Reader. But the real issue is this. Every blog that I actually care about, that I absolutely know that I want to read and I want to at least know what they publish, period, I subscribe to via email. And that isn't just now because Google Reader is gone. It's been that way for years. Since the beginning of time, every blog that I really cared about, that I really truly care about, I subscribe to via email. Why? Because I know I will actually get that email. Twitter is so like, blah, blah. You might see somebody's tweet about their new blog. If you happen to be on Twitter when they posted it, it's very asynchronous, right, on Twitter, whereas email is by definition linear and synchronous. So if somebody publishes a blog post, a blog that I really care about, I will get that email and say, oh, this person has published a blog post, and then I can choose whether or not to read it. So once again, right, as technology changes and theoretically progresses, what we are finding yet again, Kyle, is that email becomes not less important, but more important. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. And there you have it. It's another edition of the Baer Facts. Thanks, Jay.